Yo, what's up? Moses here, bringing you what is probably currently my favorite skill in the game. That's right, Purifying Flame. It's a physical based skill, it's a holy skill. 50% of that is converted to fire, and it just feels so good. I've been leveling up with this shadow. The character just kept getting stronger and stronger the more, gear we had, the ascendancies, and this is actually a self-caster, and I can't really believe this, but I've been enjoying this skill, and I'm going to continue farming with the skill, at least for a few more days, if not a bit more, because it's just such a joy. There's a bunch of other stuff I want to try out, um, and there's a lot to talk about on this character. So let's get going. So first of all, Trickster was changed in the recent 3.6 patch in Synthesis League, and now it has all sorts of happy little quality of life ghost shrouds that give you some damage reduction. You get some movement speed. Well, you have energy shield, escape artist. You get 36% cast speed per ghost shroud, and they stack up to 3 times. So that's 36% increased cast speed, which is quite fast without frenzy charges here, and just feels very good. Alongside with the Swift Killer that generates our frenzy and power charges, and Harness the Void, which just gives us a huge chunk of damage. This turns out to be a very fast mapper and simply a joy to farm with. And can't tell you, I don't remember when was the last time I had that much fun. I guess the whole cast wall channeling is also super fun with the sound that we did, but this is next level, and I very much enjoyed this new self-cast with the new changes they made with the new skills. The one thing I do have to say not in favor of the ascendancy is that you gain a power and frenzy charge each second while channeling, so you kind of have to have a skill for channeling whenever you want to, get the frenzied power charge against like boss targets, against single targets, right? So you want to have that. Shouldn't be too annoying in terms of like playstyle. You just shove any one socket link for channeling. You stack it up. You have increased duration for your frenzy and power chargers, which means you don't even have to worry about that too much. Like every couple of seconds, every 10 seconds or so, you need to press 1 time to gain that charge, and if you can integrate it into your playstyle. But still, I mean, you're giving it while channeling. Why not just on hit like Raider has it? I don't know. So you kind of have to integrate that into your playstyle. Currently, I don't have any channeling skills simply because I haven't done too much endgame, and there's still a lot that I want to do with this character I'm planning on doing. But this line I thought is worth mentioning. So let's get into the skill. Purifying Flame, what it will do, it will send out this explosion right now with spell echo, so it will send it out twice, and each explosion will have an expanding wave that will then go kind of like outwards, dealing 25% less damage, but will clear everything around it. So what will usually happen is that you're just going to be running a pack to pack and explode everything. So for that, you could use the new Unleash that I have leveling over here, and yeah, and what it will do is basically, instead of spell echo, you can throw it over here, and then what it will do, let's get inside the zone. What it will do, it will stack up 3 times. That will recharge every time you cast a spell, every 0.7 seconds or so. Alright, every 0.7 seconds. Now, I perfectly understand now what this thing does. It took me a little bit of experimenting in the previous video. I didn't really understand what the skill does, but basically, it's very simple. You get 3 charges, and every 0.7 second you get a charge. When you have 3, you simply unleash them, and then this is the spell being cast 3 times in a row. So that's basically it. So you get multiple casts of your spell, and it reoccurs 3 times. So overall, 4 casts of your spell, each with 26% less damage when reoccurring, but a huge amount of damage on impact. So you run around, um, and unleash whenever you see a pack, and this one purifying flame discharge will then explode everything around it, and then you keep running and unleash it once more. It stacks up, you unleash once again, 3 times, boom, and that's kind of like your playstyle. The way I've been enjoying playing with the skill is actually the good old spell echo. I didn't find unleash to be particularly fun, and I don't like to swap gems, and against single target against the boss in the end you do want your spell echo, so that's what I'm farming with. The character is still pretty fast. I just thought I would mention unleash because it is a new spell gem, and it's pretty good for this particular playstyle if that's what you enjoy doing, and definitely worth mentioning. So my current way that I'm running is Purifying Flame with Energy Shield Leech. We're going to talk about that in a second. Spell Echo, increased critical strikes, Fist to Lightning for full conversion, and Concentrated Effect. The reason is that the impact is the same type of size, and Concentrated Effect will only affect the wave that expands from the center. And even with Conc Effect, with Carcass Jack, and with Amplify area of effect, I just get a huge chunk of more multiplier without too much of a, where's my NKOE? Yeah, without too much of a drawback, right? So if you look at NKOE, the explosion will be slightly bigger, but the area of the wave will be much, much larger. I find that to be not particularly necessary. Again, important to bring this in. If you want, you can change up your playstyle. I have been playing with both of them, just flipped my NKOE to reach 20. And I find this area with my current setup, Carcass Jack and Amplify, to be just fine. You could alternatively choose a different chest. I just think that this particular skill, the way the area effect, affected, and the increased area effect that you're getting, Carcass Jack is a pretty solid choice for this particular build. So that's what we're going with. But of course, you could use Shroud of the Lightless. It's actually an insane chest for the way I would run this, the way I'm running this. Because it gives you that 20%, it gives that level 20 elemental penetration, which penetrates fire, cold, and lightning. And in terms of total DPS, will be your ideal choice. Because if you look at our tooltip, we're dealing a lot of cold, a lot of fire, mostly fire, and a lot of lightning, and a whole bunch of chaos. And of course, we're getting a lot of chaos because of Harness the Void. Right? So additional elemental penetration would be very valuable for us at this stage. It's just that currently, with my current setup, it's kind of hard for me to get that. There are ways to get that. One way is balancing my resistances, which is again going to require a lot of currency to invest, and then in single target situations remove the Quicksilver Flask and just shove in a Wise Oak with triple balance resists. Another way would be to get a elemental penetration on the boots. That's 10%. And what I do have right now is my weapon that penetrates 5% of elemental damage. So this is my current way of elemental penetration. But again, Shroud of the Lightless is a very good body armor you can use for this case. Instead of NKOE Conc Effect, you could just use a 5-link, the original 5-link with elemental penetration that would deal quite a lot of damage. Yeah, so this is what we have over here. Let's talk about Energy Shield or Energy Leech. Basically, this is a new gem. It gives us 38% more damage while leeching Energy Shield, right? And that happens all the time. We don't have more damage on full Energy Shield. That is not happening because we're constantly casting our spells, and the way that we use it is we're using Eldritch Battery. Now, the way that we use it is Eldritch Battery, but also Mind Over Matter. So what happens is I got 1,149 Energy Shield currently on my character, and this is protecting our mana, right? But our skills, they cost energy shield because of Eldritch Battery, and we still have Mind Over Matter. So whenever we take damage, 30% of that instead of our mana is going to go on from our energy shield, right? So we have our life pool, and then we have our energy shield. So again, we'll take 30% of our damage from energy shield, and we'll have our energy shield or energy leech from the support gem. So we're never going to actually benefit both of the more damage while on full energy shield, but this allows us to spend mana instead of spend energy shield instead of mana, which gives us the opportunity to reserve 100% of our mana. So we're running Zealotry, running Herald of Ash, and Herald of Ice. Herald of Ice simply because there's no real good thing to do, and it is a crit build and some additional cold damage. We get a little bit of shatters here and there, but mostly what we're making use of is Herald of Ash. It is insane because our base is converted to 50%, and with Herald of Ash we're getting more fire damage and more fire spell damage. So this is kind of like physical as extra and more fire spell damage, so it works perfectly for this particular build. And on top of that, we're running the new Circle of Anguish that increases the buff effect of Herald of Ash by almost 100%, adding more flat fire and some strength fire resist and all that kind of stuff. But mostly the Herald of Ash buff effect really significantly does work, and that feels pretty good to have such huge chunk of increased buff for very little cost of 25%. Pretty insane ring right now. Yeah, on top of that, our other ring is Warlord's Mark on hit, which basically means that we're going to get our Leech of Life and Mana. We don't need our Leech of Mana, we got our Energy Leech, but to sustain our life, this definitely helps, to top us off this way. On our gloves, I got a Temple gloves that I crafted, and currently they only have fire and added fire against burning enemies. Again, it's a crit build, we're dealing a whole lot of fire damage, things will be burning, and we're going to add a lot of fire damage through that, and has also some cold resist. You can multi-mod gloves like these, and while leeching, so you get the increased attack damage while leeching as a prefix. You can get the global crit and increased elemental damage. I guess I didn't unlock this craft. Yeah, this one. Or, yeah. Crit, multi if you shattered. Chaos damage if you've dealt a crit. I guess there's yeah, you can get the global crit chance. I guess I've unlocked the chaos damage if you've crit recently, but there are others, I bet, with fire if you've crit recently that I still haven't unlocked. Gloves like these could be pretty strong if you multi-mod them. We have a video about that, on how to multi-mod a pair of gloves and what kind of stuff you can get on those. On the belt, currently just running some life resist on a Stygian Vice. We got our fire damage, some life, nothing too impressive. Really, our currency is pretty low at the moment. But of course we can get prismatic and craft ourselves elemental damage on our belt, and there's still a lot that could be done with the character. We can also get since most of our damage is fire, getting negative fire as to nearby enemies while not affecting fully on all of our damage will still become pretty big chunky increase in our damage. Elemental penetration on the boots, as I mentioned, would be very strong, and against single targets, the Wise Oak. Now there's another thing that is happening here, Zealotry. We still want our Arcane Surge, right? It's a pretty big buff, and Arcane Surge gives us more spell damage, more cast speed, and currently there's no way for us to get it because you need to spend mana in order to get the buff. Originally, when this was a just mana based full Mind Over Matter, I used Arcane Surge as a main support gem, I believe I may even have it here. I keep leveling up. There it is. Oh, it's actually 2020. Sweet. And this needs to be flipped. So let's do that. So yeah, I did use the Arcane Surge as one of the main links because we're constantly spending mana, right? This is 76 mana cost, so it's quite chunky, and 400 mana just happens all the time with this type of cast speed. Constantly we're going to be getting the buff, but since we're using energy shield to cast our spells, we're not using mana, so we cannot gain Arcane Surge, not even if we link it to our, Flame Dash. So the way to work around that is to get a Watcher's Eye that gives us a buff of, I have it right somewhere. There. So we get a Watcher's Eye that gain Arcane Surge for 4 seconds when you create Consecrated Ground while affected by Zealotry. Zealotry is here, right here. It gives us more spell damage, 15%, and an increased critical strike chance, which is, on its own pretty sweet. Works very, very well. Just a straight up 15% more for everything that we do. It reserves 50% of our mana, and with this new Watcher's Eye mods, you can get Arcane Surge for free. Ideally, you want Elemental Penetration and Arcane Surge. Probably something like that would be 20, 25, 30 exalts, who knows. But that's the very, very end game. I thought it's worth mentioning, and in a build like this that deals so much fire, cold, and lightning damage, 10% elemental penetration would go a very, very long way if you're going to be doing Uber Elders and stuff like that. Currently, I'm still only farming Red Elders. I find it to be more profitable, and I'm kind of broke and cannot really afford losing, yeah. Let's level this thing up, for example. I can't really afford losing 2 sets of tier 16 maps. I can't even afford 2 sets of tier 16 maps to begin with currently, so I can't really do any Uber Elders right now. Yeah, I did just pick up a Pantheon power, and let's talk a little bit about Pantheon powers. Normally for spellcasters you want the Brine King, right? But over here what I'm actually using is, instead of Brine King that says cannot be stunned if you've stunned or blocked, we have our Escape Artist, right? It says cannot be stunned while you have Ghost Shroud, and we always have Ghost Shrouds basically, unless we're constantly getting hit, which we're not, right? So because everything dies around us, so we basically cannot be stunned. And if we cannot be stunned, we don't need that Pantheon. What I'm taking is Sol's Lunaris that gives us some more, damage reduction, more chance to dodge projectiles that have chained. Or you could alternatively take Soul of Arcali. Both are very good for mapping, either way. So yeah, let's get into a map, and I know we've talked a lot, and probably there's a lot I did forget to mention. Let's actually go through the rest of the links. So let's do an order and everything. So we got Purifying Flame, Energy Shield, Leech, Spell Echo, Incrit, Physical Lightning, and Conk Effect. Over here I got the utility Orb of Storms with Culling, Blind Support, and Power Charge on Crit, which is how we generate on bosses, and over here I got Clarity and Discipline. These are Val Clarity and Val Discipline with increased duration. Now that's a nice combo I haven't talked about. Normally I would use Val Righteous Fire to increase our damage. In this build, since let's show this, there's so much to talk about in this build, it's crazy. So yeah, in this build, if you look at the line of Val Righteous Fire, it says sacrifice 30% of your total energy shield and life. My total energy shield and life is 6,000 plus 1,100. 30% of that is roughly 2,500, so 2,500-ish total of our life and mana. Since we have Might Over Matter, we're going to be getting 30% of that is going to be taken off of our energy shield, right? First, and you know, it's going to be taken from our energy shield and from our life, right? But it's being taken from our energy shield, and we sacrifice our energy shield. What does that mean? 30% of our life is 2,000, and 30% of our life and energy shield is 2,500. So total will be 4k ish, and that means that the shield is going to be fully depleted, and we won't be able to cast our spells when we need them the most on Val Righteous Fire. This creates situations where you just simply can't spend any energy shield to cast your spells, and it leaves you without energy shield, which means you're vulnerable. I found that it's basically impossible to maintain it, and Val Righteous Fire will not work in this particular setup because of the mathematical problem that we have, that we just simply spend more than what we could use. All right, so we simply don't use it. However, what we do use is let's put this back in. What we do use is Val Clarity and Val Discipline. Val Discipline, whenever we're in trouble, our life goes down, there's some degen on us, there's some, dot, whatever, we are going to be able to replenish our energy shield regardless of damage that we're going to be taking. And Val Clarity will allow us to cast our spells without spending any mana. So we will always be able to at least deal damage constantly and kill stuff in front of us. So this one I just picked up today, and it works very, very nicely. And Val Discipline as well makes it so that whenever there's all sorts of stuff around us, we can still replenish our energy shield when we're running around. Of course, if whenever we're dealing damage, we will spend our energy shield. Again, for the reservation, we are using Zealotry, we're using Herald of Ice, and we're using Herald of Ash. Over here I got just cast when damage taken, with Enfeeble and Immortal Call. Enfeeble not doing too much because I do have Warlord's Mark on hit. Originally I had plans to go to Whispers of Doom. It's like 6 or 7 points away. I decided not to go for it in the end, so I guess we could remove that, but for now it's here. And another thing is faster casting Flame Dash, but with Blood Magic. Again, because our expenses are very tied to our energy shield. When we run out of it, when we take damage, I never want to be in a situation where I'm not able to escape with my character. That's why I'm linking Blood Magic to my Flame Dash, which means no matter what happens, I'm always going to be able to escape. Of course, if we have our Flame Dash up. I believe we talked a lot about everything, but there's still one more thing to mention. Immune to Poison, Soul of Shakari is, I believe, very, very good for this type of build, because we don't want to take the degen. It's important for us to have this immunity, so that, again, we're not going to be able to run into situations where we have stacks of poison on us. Otherwise, it's heat, warding, staunching, and dousing, which remove the burning damage. It's what I chose to use here. Again, all that type of degen is going to keep us from casting our spells. So I never want to reach a situation where I don't have energy shield. I must have energy shield at all times, so to mitigate damage and to be able to cast my spells, because otherwise the character is just not working. You right click and nothing happens, right? So you always want to avoid this situation. That's why the immunity, very important. You get that from the Desert Spring boss, but of course we took it already. And the dousing for the burn removal, which of course helps us a lot with all the Guardians. When it comes to the Guardians, I actually killed tier 15 Red Elder. That's the highest I've done. I killed Kurgle, his name, in Delve. Not Kurgle, the other one, the Val Outpost one. It was in like area level 83. Not too many damage mods, but yeah, it was pretty quick, and we destroyed him. Got our 2 cast rings and moved on. Yeah, so this is the skill. I can actually, the automaton effect is way too dominant. We can grab sin, innocence. Sure, innocence is pretty sweet. Also, you know what's sweet is the new mystery boxes. That's what I'm using right now. Madcap set. All sorts of fun stuff is happening. So yeah, that's the skill. It's like it's super quick. Everything just dies really quickly. It's such a fun, smooth leveling experience, and I barely ever died. I died several times to disconnections because there has been lots of disconnections, especially with you know, syndicate spawning. There's been frame drops and lags and all sorts of situations that we don't normally get. I guess when the game gets bigger, servers get older, and things like that will happen more and more. So hopefully they'll fix some stuff like that in the future. But yeah, so I died lots to lag and game freezes and game crashes. Currently at level 90, almost 3, we died 23 times. Couple of, like, yeah, I think I only died a handful of times with this character due to mistakes that are, you know, my fault, and that's very rare because I make lots of mistakes. But somehow this build, with the amount of damage and speed, it's just so forgiving with, you know, our defensive flasks, the ascendancy itself, chance to dodge some spells, chance to evade, being tanky with Mind Over Matter and energy shield from Eldritch Battery. Ends up being pretty tanky and pretty sweet. Yeah, whenever there's you know, breach or something like that, we're just shoots them everywhere. Whenever there's like a breach or something like that, I'm just gonna, you know, pop my Val Clarity, and it lasts for like 15 seconds. It's actually quite ridiculous. And soul gain prevention is you know, pretty short period of time, and we can stack that right back up again pretty quickly. And that's a level 14 gem because we just started using it today, so it's not even 20 just yet. I believe it's going to be something like 20 seconds at level 20. 20 seconds of complete free casting of your spells, so you know, it's pretty strong. Maybe this boss, I mean, I just needed to do it because there's a Shaper Stronghold, and I want to spawn the Elder, so that's like the next map on our list, on our to-do list. But perhaps I should have done a more, you know, more difficult map than a tier 11 Desert Spring right now. But yeah, just to showcase how fast it is. This has been like such a pleasure, honestly. I started this character on Saturday. I did only Act 1 on Saturday. I actually started playing it on Sunday and leveled it up all the way to maps on Sunday or Monday, early Monday, and then yeah, since then it's been great. It's Wednesday now, so Monday, Tuesday, and today we're going to start the stream pretty soon to play a little bit more of this awesome character. I really do strongly recommend you guys to try it. It just blows up everything. It's so satisfying. I don't know what it is about it, honestly. Shadow being you know, Trickster being so fast, or just the skill, or probably just the combination of the two. Still more than 50. Did they kill the second breach? Who knows? See, so you have your you know, right now I don't have any flasks, but you have your dowsing, which is your you know, burning removal. You're immune to poison, so you don't really care about any type of degen. And on top of that, you have Val Clarity, Discipline, so that you never run out of energy shield, and you're always able to cast your spells. Super good stuff. And like the damage is actually ridiculous. I think like fully buffed, it shows almost 1.3 million DPS, and that's still without penetration that we could get from Zeltri's Watch's Eye, and
these worlds are not yours.
there. His shape is stronghold. So yeah, Zealotry's Watcher's Eye, and he's dead. It's like so quick. The damage is like really sick. I can't wait to do a Brawler with this. I do want to level up a little bit more. But again, I want the Shaper's, sorry, the Zealotry Watcher's Eye. I'm probably gonna save up to get it, you know, the whole way, and some penetration on the boots. Elemental penetration is going to be so valuable for this skill. I can't wait to have it all already. Yeah, and hopefully we'll have a better video for you guys later during the week, or maybe next week or something like that. But so far, this is it, the full build guide. If I haven't, I don't know if I missed something. I guess the shield, something to talk about. Shields are so insane these days. I have a pretty similar shield, but I mean, I got this one for 1 Exalted Orb, right? Oh man, this shield, how did I forget? So this one has here 53 spell damage, cast speed, 100% crit, 100 life, cold res, and 8% physical as extra cold. This shield on its own is like 100k over here. Only second, slightly second to our insane weapon right here. So when people tell me, hey, why don't you dual wield? This is why I don't dual wield, guys. Alright? Like this, with all the elementals extra, all the cast speed, the spell damage that we're getting, it says about 130k DPS. This shield right here gives us just about 110, so it's not that much of a difference, but we're getting some additional chance to block, which is not nothing. We're getting 100 to our life, and we're getting some resistances. So when you can get shields, and this by all means is not the best possible roll, right? You can get even better shields, but yeah, very important for you guys to actually show that my amulet is nothing special at all, just some stats. Of course, you can get shaper rolls, you know, as extra elementals, extra physicals, extra all that kind of stuff. There's still a lot that could be done for this character, but for now, I realize it was a pretty long video, but I still hope you enjoyed it and learned something. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to check out the stream. I'm going to start streaming right away. Thanks for watching. See you guys around. Bye bye.